The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. Nascar, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here's your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Indeed, gang's all here. Matt and I in studio, producer John on CRN Live on YouTube as usual, and plenty to get to. Whew, lot to get to. We're going to talk about the top 3 moments in NHRA history. They've been working up to this for a little while now. This is according to the fans, not the NHRA, so that's why we have some questions about it. You remember Alex Bowman had to get out of the 48 at COTA? Well, how long is he now out? And how did all of that work? We'll get into that in a little bit. Matt's going to get into how NASCAR goes through the approval process of their drivers. It is interesting how they did what they called an expedited approval last week for the driver that filled in for Alex Bowman. You want to talk about big problems for a Formula One team? You want to talk about starting off on the wrong foot or tire or whatever you want to call it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to get into it all next on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. We're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Well, let's get into this thing, shall we? Busy. Not only last weekend, even busier this weekend. We'll give you the full schedule here right after we get the recap. It was all street and road course racing last weekend of the series we cover. Started down in Florida, Craftsman Truck Series joining Indycar in St. Petersburg. Battling other drivers is one thing. Battling gas mileage on top of it just kind of added to the complication for Front Row Motorsports driver Lane Riggs, but he was able to overcome it all. Gets his first win of the year by just under a second over Ty Majeski. Riggs started in the back of the field, 28th to be exact, in a 36-truck field. Truck didn't exactly qualify well, but it sure did race well. What's the difference now? I mean, is the qualifying setup that much radically different from a race setup still?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It is. It's just, watching that entire race, he just minded his P's and Q's.
Mm-hmm.
Simply put, that's the only way you can say it.
Is it a smarter move to worry more in certain races about your race setup as opposed to your qualifying setup?
Oh, absolutely.
Is this one of those races?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Being the first time down there like they were, I think it was a lot more, everybody focused on racecraft and the track and race setup versus qualifying, because there was going to be a level of attrition to a degree.
Sure.
And to some ways it was, but the racecraft and overall race setup played a big role.
Okay. How well did it race? Well, again, he started 28th. He was in 7th place by the end of the first stage. That's 20 laps. He won stage 2, and with 8 laps left to go, Riggs happened to note to his team, his crew, that the fuel light was starting to flicker, but he actually said he was convinced he wasn't going to make it. The situation with the fuel light flickering,
Pressure.
it's merely pressure. It's not necessarily indicative of how much fuel you've got.
Fuel pressure is a signal of how much you've got, because if it gets to a certain point and air starts taking over within the tank, it'll deplete the fuel pressure.
All right. This is, if I remember right, 1.8-ish mile long course.
You get 1.836,
Something like that. 8 laps to go at just under 2 laps per. Yeah, I can understand why he would have some concern.
Well, with that track being as flat as it is, and there's really no parts of the track that pitch the truck or the car left to right.
Mm-hmm.
Everything being flat, you had to keep it in with get tech talk real early.
Sure, why not?
In the trucks, the secondary area where the fuel pump is to the reserve tank is in the right-hand side, and majority, not all of them, but majority of the turns at St. Pete were to the left. So all the fuel was going to the left, and the reserve tank really wasn't getting all the way completely full. So if the main tank ran out, he could flip the switch and go to the reserve tank and get a few extra added laps. So I could see one.
Okay. He ends up not only getting the win, celebrates it too with donuts. So yeah, he had more gas left than what he thought. Riggs first, Majeski second, Ben Rhodes third, Chandler Smith fourth, Caden Honeycutt making up the top 5. Landon Lewis was 6. Andres Perez de Lara followed him. Then Daniel Herrick. Colin Braun, nice run in his debut. And the ex-IndyCar driver who said he wanted to do more after the fact, finishing 10th, James Hinchcliffe.
I could see him getting some more road course starts.
Would not surprise me at all. 3 races into the year, Chandler Smith's in the lead in the points, 155 to Ben Rhodes, 118. Ty Majeski, 108. Gio Ruggiero for 98, Then Lane Riggs up to 96 with the win, 87 for Caden Honeycutt. Andres Perez de Lara, 85, 70 for Stuart Friesen. Christian Ecke, 69, and 67 for Justin Haley. Then you go out to COTA. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Series came down to the final restart with 5 laps left when SVG took the inside line heading into turn 1, made a brilliant forward-wide pass to run up from 6th place to 1st. Once he was out front, nobody could touch the road course ace. He went on and claimed the win. I know we're all shocked by that, right? Austin Hill recovered, claimed second, over 3/4 of a second behind SVG. Then Sammy Smith, Jesse Love, Corey Day, who continues to, let's just say, tick off some of the other drivers in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Kid Brent Cruz with a nice run there. William Sawalich, Justin Allgaier, Ross Chastain, Brennan Poole. Austin Hill leading the series points, 154, 126 for teammate Jesse Love. Justin Allgaier's in third at 115, and 106 for Shelton Creed. Then you got Carson Kvapil with 95, 90 for Rajah Caruth. Sammy Smith is next with 86. Corey Day is tied with him at that number. Parker Retzlaff, 81. 78 for Sam Mayer. Brandon Jones with 73. And Brennan Poole, 12th with 70. Corey Day has some growing up to do. That's obvious. But, I mean, this isn't anything that we haven't seen before. Let's look at Carson Hocevar for an example.
It's, to me, it's almost like same song, different verse.
Yeah. I mean, sooner somebody somewhere is going to get ticked off at somebody somewhere.
Yeah, he'll settle down.
Oh, sure.
I mean, he didn't get, to my opinion, he didn't get enough starts in that car last year or in any truck to be able to learn where his vehicle is and not make crazy moves and it cause crazy incidences.
Yeah. He's still a little bit too young to know nuances of right. Wait and see. He's like, hey, I see spot, go get spot. That's basically
yeah.
That brings us to Sunday, heads back to Florida for the NTT IndyCar Series. And if you're hoping to see the end of the Alex Palou reign atop the series, I hope you got patience. He ain't done yet, apparently. Palou, fresh off of his third straight title in 2025, broke out in 2026 in dominating style. And we do mean dominating. He won the race by 12 and a half seconds over the pole sitter, Scott McLaughlin. And probably could have been more had the pit strategy played out in a different way. Christian Lundgaard third, trailed by Kyle Kirkwood and Pato O'Ward in the top 5, rounding out the top 10. Marcus Ericsson, Joseph Newgarden, Romain Grosjean with a top 10 in his IndyCar return after a year off, and then Rinus VeeKay with the rookie Dennis Hauger, Grosjean's teammate, sitting in 10th. Points largely mirror the top 10, so we're going to wait for another race after. We're going to wait until after race 2 to detail.
I personally think the Palou dominance comes to an end today.
Today, okay.
I think it comes to an end today.
All right, we'll find out. We will find out. There's no doubt about it. Finally, we head back out to Dakota to determine whether SVG could win 6 in a row, or Tyler Reddick could do something never done in NASCAR's long history, or could somebody else claim the win? Turned into a late race battle between Reddick and SVG, but unlike what most might think, SVG's tires didn't let him get any closer to about 3/4 of a second behind the 45 for Reddick, and I don't think that car was ever really to SVG's liking.
It really wasn't, because I know there was several complaints that was put over the broadcast that he had some issues with side force, lateral side force, to keep the car in the ground, and it was using the tires up a little bit quicker than he wanted to use them up.
Yeah. So Reddick becomes the answer to the trivia question of now the only Cup driver in Cup Series history to claim wins in each of any given season's first 3 races. Tyler Reddick, of all people. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Tyler Reddick. He's a talented kid, don't get me wrong. But when you think of the names that we've got in the history of NASCAR and he's the first driver to do it, you would have thought it might have been done before now in 77 years of history of NASCAR.
And to the conspiracy theorists that are chirping,
stop it.
Shut up.
Yeah, just
shut up.
Stop it. Team owner Michael Jordan was on hand again, said afterward he was going to be in Phoenix this weekend to see if Reddick could go 4 for 4. I have my doubts, but I'm also not going to discount the fact that they might be able to pull it off. But this is a Team Penske track historically. So I tend to kind of lean that way when it comes to this weekend.
I personally think it's going to be somebody that you least expect.
Yeah?
Show up, because it's another 750 race.
That's true.
Everybody's still
getting used to the new situation.
It's still, because they've been so low on horsepower for so long, managing a little bit higher horsepower, which puts it more in an elbows up situation, which what it needs to be.
And here's the other thing. I mean, the Phoenix track is getting old. When they redid the track a few years ago, they didn't redo the track surface. They redid the infield, and they redid the grandstands. The track surface is still the same. This track surface is actually now one of the older track surfaces in NASCAR.
No, the track surface did get resurfaced when they pitched the I call it pitching the dog leg out further. They did resurface the track.
Not the entire track, though, from what I'm hearing.
I thought they did the whole track.
So there's some areas of this track that are kind of old, and it's getting aged, and it's sitting out in the sun. It's sitting out in the Arizona sun, too, which means that it's getting beaten on.
Oh, it's going to age a lot faster.
So you got this situation where now you got the extra power plus a little bit older surface from what I'm hearing. And that means tire management comes in. So who's good at managing their tires in addition to being able to put that power down?
Well, seeing how.
So I kind of see where you're going with that prediction, though.
Well, seeing how the higher Cup cars are on the track. Cup cars are on track with Indy cars at an oval, and they've never been on there with an oval. They've only been on cars on the track with Indy cars at a road course. The more intriguing, interesting part to be able to watch, mainly through today, I think through today, because you got O'Reilly race this afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
You got IndyCar race midday.
Yeah, they lead off.
And then in between all of that, you've got Cup practice and qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I know, I think I've asked this question of you before, and I don't know whether it matters or not. Rubber tends to be rubber. You rubber in the track, whether it's Firestone rubber or Goodyear rubber. Does it really matter, or is there that much of a difference between the two brands to make it matter?
It's going to matter because the compound of the Firestone, the compound, sorry, my eye's itching. The compound of the Firestone is different to what the compound of the Goodyear is. How do they coexist and coexist?
Sure.
How do they react to each other?
Yeah.
How do the cars react to that Firestone rubber that's laid down? Because some of the Indy cars, they're going to go to the alternates and they're going to throw softer rubber and it's going to rubber up quicker. Some's going to be on the hard, some's going to be on the soft, and you're going to have that. You're going to have multiple compounds of tires out there. How does the track take the rubber with a Firestone, and then you turn around and put the Goodyears out there?
Well, and to a certain extent, we'll find out during the IndyCar race because we've seen some activity from NASCAR out there on the track already.
Yeah, last night.
So we're going to get an idea of it during the IndyCar race, and then it'll just be exacerbated when the O'Reilly Series hits the track later this afternoon.
Yep.
It's going to be fun to watch. So either way, not only does he become the first driver to go 3 for 3 to begin the year, he's the first Cup Series driver to claim more than one win at COTA. Of course, we haven't been going there very long, but that's not the point. Reddick wins, SVG second. Last year's winner, Christopher Bell, ends up third, trailed by Todd Gibbs, Michael McDowell, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, AJ Allmendinger, and Denny Hamlin in the top 10. Reddick, of course, leads the points with 186. 116 for his teammate Bubba Wallace in second. Chase Elliott there with 114. 100 for Ryan Blaney. SVG, the highest he's ever been in the Cup points. He sits at 90. Now we get to find out exactly how good SVG is as we start going to the traditional ovals. He's tied with Joey Logano, by the way, at 90 points. Daniel Suarez has 87. Rest of your 16. 86 for AJ Allmendinger. Michael McDowell, 83. 82 Carson Hocevar. Chris Buescher, 81. 78 for Brad Keselowski. William Byron at 76. 75 for Zane Smith. Kyle Larson holding at 73. And then 16th is Ryan Preece with 68. So this weekend, we just talked about it, gave you a bit of a preview in Phoenix. IndyCar gets in their first race on the Southwest Oval since 2018. The race is entitled the Good Ranchers 250. It'll be on Fox, and the IRN network starts 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. Then you switch to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. This is something that we didn't see previously. For example, in Atlanta.
I'll say this real quick about rubber, about track rubber, tire compounds coexisting with each other. The O'Reilly cars were less than 3/10 from breaking the track record.
Well, there you go. A couple of weeks ago in Atlanta, we had that situation where they cut the Truck Series short because it was delayed, first of all, because of some rain in the area. And then you were switching from Fox to CW. You were going different networks. We do have that situation where you're going Fox to CW again, but there's a bigger gap in between the IndyCar Series race and what the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race is. Again, for IndyCar, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. O'Reilly Auto Parts Series goes to Phoenix to get the GovX 200 on the CW and MRN radio. Starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Shouldn't be a scheduling issue because last I heard there wasn't any rain out there.
No, and then the IndyCar cutting laps at Phoenix of 170 miles an hour. I don't think it's going to take long to run 250 laps.
Shouldn't. Late Saturday evening, U.S. time anyway. Formula One gets the 2026 season rolling. It's the Qatar Airways Australian Grand Prix, 3.1 mile long, 14-turn Albert Park circuit in Melbourne, Australia. Apple Plus, I know that's going to take some getting used to, gets the coverage started at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central Time. Sorry for those of you who are not Apple Plus subscribers. And believe me, there are a lot of people complaining about this. I get it. It's the way that it is. The funny thing is that there are some people that will sit there and say nothing but, oh, this is just nothing but corporate greed. Well, here's the thing. Tell me that you don't run a business without telling me flat out that you don't run a business. If you were Formula One and ESPN came to you and said, we're still going to pay you the $75 million per year, and then Apple Plus turns around and offers you $150 million per year,
You take the 150.
you're in business to stay in business, which means you need to make money. You're going to take the twice amount. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me corporate greed. It's the rule of business. Welcome to the world. Do you like it? Not necessarily. And I'm not telling you got to like it. I'm just telling you it's the truth. Sunday, busy day as well. NHRA kicking off their 2026 season. They'll be in Gainesville, Florida for the Amelie Gator Nationals. Actual on-track action for the Mission Foods Drag Racing Series is going to get started at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central Time. I wonder if there's a church near the dragway. Fox Sports 1 joins in the fun, starts noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time. I haven't been to the track. I don't know.
Gainesville?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right. Either way, somebody might be waking up earlier than what they had planned.
They're watching time and score, and so they're already running down there.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, that's not surprising to me. And when we get into NHRA talk, we got some speeds going on down there, too. On the weekend, we'll end with the Cup Series taken to the oddly shaped Southwestern track at Phoenix for the Straight Talk Wireless 500. MRN Radio has the coverage. Fox Sports 1 has the TV side of it. Starts 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Fox choosing to go college basketball on the main network over the Cup Series.
Actually, there is a church near Gainesville Raceway.
Well, there you go. That ought to be fun.
Probably a couple of miles, maybe.
Well, they're going to hear it. Craftsman Truck Series Formula E, they're off this weekend. All right, so there's the schedule, there's the rundown, there's everything. When we come back, we're going to update you because some rulings came down this week in the Chris Gabehart versus Joe Gibbs Racing lawsuit situation. We'll talk about that. We'll get more into the Alex Bowman situation. And coming up here in a minute, a couple of drivers getting approved by NASCAR. Not just last weekend, but for the future. And Matt's got some thoughts on that. Stay close.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Before we get into the Cup Series news real quick, IndyCar did qualify yesterday. Let's give some highlights on the starting lineup, starting with the top 10.
Taking his first career pole in a Penske front row lockout, David Malukas will bring him to the green today.
All right,
Joseph Newgarden starting outside pole.
So you're saying Penske not only owns Phoenix and Cup, they seem like they own it in IndyCar too.
Yeah, considering they have all three cars in the top five.
Well, there you go.
Only to sandwich two Rahal Letterman cars. Graham Rahal starting third, and not Louis Foster starting fourth. It would be Mick Schumacher starting fourth today.
All
in his
right.
first oval race.
Yeah, that's a good qualifying run for a kid who's really never raced on an oval.
Yeah, and he wasn't all that terribly far off of Joseph Newgarden's time. It just David Malukas laid a monster lap down.
Okay.
And it made it look like a huge gap.
Gotcha.
Scott McLaughlin 5th, Alex Rossi 6th, Pato O'Ward 7th, Renus VK 8th, Nolan Siegel 9th, and Alex Pillow 10th.
There's that name, Alex Pillow in 10th. Okay.
Yep. Kyle Kirkwood's 11th, Scott Dixon 15th, Christian Lundgaard 17th, Romain Grosjean 20th, and poor Will Power, who is snake bit right now, starting shotgun.
He's getting used to that new team, man. There's growing pains when it comes to that. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of a veteran you are switching from a team that you've been at for a very long time to another team. There's a little bit of an adjustment time.
It really wasn't that right there. He was on yesterday in qualifying, he was on a huge monster lap in qualifying, and the car just snapped and he hit the wall.
Gotcha.
What happened?
Formula One qualifying, I think already.
I think, yes.
I'll let you look that up. Let's get into the news here over in the Cup Series, where the latest on the Joe Gibbs Racing versus Chris Gabehart and Spire Motorsports suit shows that all the rulings were delayed from Friday a week ago to Monday of this week. And you kind of seeing an opening, I guess, is probably a good way to put it. Chris Gabehart got into full Spire attire and showed up at the Truck Series race in St. Petersburg to help out the truck arm of the company. By moving everything back to Monday, it also meant that the Joe Gibbs Racing request for an injunction against his working for Spire in any way while the suit drags on got delayed. On Monday, the judge decided to only partially grant the injunction request. What do you mean by that? It means that Gabehart is actually allowed to work at Spire while the suit's going on. He just can't have the same role that he had at Joe Gibbs Racing, which is competition director. Okay? Gabehart's role at Spire Motorsports is listed as Chief Motorsports Officer. Chief Motorsports Officer versus Competition Director.
Oversees all of the motorsports aspects, including the sprint car operation.
Okay, so it's not just limited to the Cup Series operation, in other words. So there isn't really any similarity there. It's not like, well, we're just going to give him this title and that way we'll skirt around the rule.
Right.
In that role, he'll be able to travel to Phoenix this weekend as well. The judge in the case, Susan C. Rodriguez, urged both sides to find a solution on their own. Also set a date of the 16th for a full hearing on Gabehart's status with Spire. Monday, she also ordered Gabehart to return any data and or material that he took from Joe Gibbs Racing to JGR. Spire co-owner Jeff Dickerson said after the fact, quote, Spire takes trade secrets very seriously, and we're a lot of things, but we're not hypocrites. We don't want anybody else's stuff other than Hendrick. Obviously, we're happy. The facts are the facts. I don't have any ill will towards Joe Gibbs Racing. I think we got thrown in because that's where he landed. I'm happy with the decision, and we take trade secrets super seriously, he said at the beginning and the end of his quote. All right. I don't know where this is going to go. Is this going to be another situation like they're actually going to end up going to court before they end up settling it, or what the heck is going on?
This one will actually probably get settled.
Okay. They've got some time.
This
Find
is intriguing.
Yeah, what do you got?
Only 19 cars made a qualifying attempt.
Okay.
The 3 that did not make an official attempt, and one of them because he crashed in Q1.
I saw the crash. If it's the same one I'm thinking, I saw the crash.
Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
So starting 20th, 21st, and 22nd will be Verstappen, Sainz, and Lance Stroll. But qualifying...
Lance Stroll's not a surprise. Carlos Sainz is a little bit of a surprise.
A little bit.
On the surface, I'm sure that there's a reason for it.
But running through the starting lineup in a front row Mercedes lockout, Russell.
Okay.
George Russell pole, Antonelli outside pole. Isaac Hadjar will start third. Charles Leclerc fourth. Charles Leclerc. Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, Liam Lawson, Arvid Lindblad, and Gabriel Bortoleto have the top 10.
Got an Audi in the top 10.
Nico Hulkenberg 11th. Oliver Behrman 12th. Ocon 13th. Gasly 14th. Albon 15th. Franco Colapinto 16th. Fernando Alonso 17th. And Perez and Bottas 18th and 19th.
The twin Cadillacs. How far off were they from? Well, just go from first place.
George Russell ran a 1:19.507. He was 6/10 ahead of Antonelli by himself.
Okay.
And Perez ran a 1:22.605, so that is 3.1 seconds. And Valtteri Bottas was another 6/10 behind Perez.
We'll get back to that situation coming up in F1 news, by the way. Back to the Cup Series news. We noted in the recap, Tyler Reddick is now the first driver to ever win the first 3 races of any given season in what we now call the Cup Series. Pretty cute picture there with this kid holding up the 3 if you're on CRN Live on YouTube. Should he be the first to claim 4? Yes, he would be the first to do it to begin a season, but he's far from the first driver to ever win 4 races in a row in Cup history. But that said, it's not a huge group either. 8 drivers have done it over time. First driver to ever do it, it took until 1976. That was Cale Yarborough. Then Darrell Waltrip equaled that in 1981. Dale Earnhardt did it in 1987. Harry Gant in 1991. Bill Elliott in 1992. Mark Martin in 1993. So we got a driver doing it 3 years in a row. We thought, oh, well, this is going to become a normal thing. No, the next driver to do it waited another 5 years. That was Jeff Gordon in 1998. And then finally, the last driver to do it, his protege, Jimmy Johnson, last pulled 4 wins in a row in Cup competition. That was 2007. So it has been 19 years since we have seen a driver pull off 4 in a row. Percentage chance that Tyler Reddick can do it.
Um, 25.
1 and 4. That's about where I landed.
25.
Yep. Then we get into this other situation here, and this is a preview. And Matt's going to take some time on this, but not until we get through the O'Reilly Auto Parts series part of it, because there are aspects there too that I think are part of this. Let's talk a little bit about Myatt Snider. And you think, why are we talking Myatt Snider? Myatt Snider was an interesting, but he was also a convenient choice to fill in for Alex Bowman at the race at COTA, because Bowman radioed during the race at COTA that he was just not feeling well enough to be able to continue much longer, and specifically asked for a relief driver. Now, you're a driver. Mm-hmm. You know this just as well as anybody else. When you're behind the wheel, that's your happy place. That's where you want to be.
Absolutely.
So for a driver to radio into his team and say, I can't do this much longer, that's big.
Yeah, you got something seriously wrong.
Okay.
That's the only way you can say it. You got something seriously wrong.
We'll go back to that part of it. First of all, let's talk about how Snider was there. First, Snider was on hand to help out Fox pit reporter Jamie Little as a pit spotter. And that's when Hendrick Motorsports VP of competition Chad Knaus looked around, saw Snider sitting there, and made the request that Snider be approved to take over the number 48. And you say, well, wait a minute. Isn't he a regular driver in the top levels of NASCAR? Yes. But there is apparently a difference between being approved to run in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and or Craftsman Truck Series versus the Cup Series.
Yeah, because of how now they've turned this Cup car into an anomaly.
Okay. So Snider, again, not previously approved for Cup competition, NASCAR had to figure out whether or not they were going to do it. So what NASCAR did, Cup Series Managing Director Brad Moran said that they did an on-the-spot meeting over the radio. Moran, Chad Little, John Probst, Elton Sawyer, all in on the conversation. They got to talking it over. And this is all according to Mike Forty, who's NASCAR's Managing Director of Communications. He said this on the NASCAR official podcast Hauler Talk this week, quote, so the 4 people that need to weigh in on the decision were all in the same room wearing these headsets. They broke things down. looked up what needed to be discussed as far as Myatt Snider's resume. It's pretty robust. His extensive experience in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, does have a win in that series at Homestead. And importantly, I don't think this has been discussed either, he needs to also have a license. Turns out Snider indeed does have an active NASCAR license and an up-to-date drug test on file. Plus, like any good driver, you and I talked about this last week, you take your gear wherever you can. We talked about it on the Cross Flags podcast. You take your gear wherever you go because you just never know when an opportunity might pop up. Even though this one, I'm sure, came out of left field, not only for us as viewers or listeners, but to Snyder himself, one would think.
Mm-hmm.
So,
like I said it earlier in the week on Cross Flags, and I'll say it here too. Like you just said, you always, no matter what, always take your gear to the track as a just in case.
Mm-hmm. So here's the deal. Snyder gets in the car with 112 O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, now what we call O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, starts under his belt. NASCAR approved Snyder's license. 40, however, did note that the track was part of the consideration. And I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you why here in a moment after we give you 40's quote. 40 said this: if it was anywhere but COTA or Martinsville or maybe even Phoenix, probably he wouldn't have been qualified to run. If this was Darlington, Homestead, certainly Daytona and Talladega, we probably would have had to tell Hendrick Motorsports they'd need to find somebody else. Why? 112 starts in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series includes Daytona and Talladega. One would think by now he would have proven the ability to have car control at a track like that. Or is this going to be the bigger part of the overall conversation coming up in a minute?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll let you proceed on.
So pause on that note. Let's go back to Bowman. Bowman actually was not just ill, as we were kind of led to believe at the beginning. Bowman had to get out of the car and is actually going to miss this weekend at Phoenix as well because he's been diagnosed with a case of vertigo. And if you have ever dealt with a situation where you've had vertigo, and Matt and I are both familiar with this, you don't want to be behind the wheel of a car, especially not a car that's doing 150 to 200 miles per hour, depending on what track you're on.
You don't even want to be sitting in a chair.
Not really, no. Said he began to experience symptoms in the car while at COTA. Hendrick Motorsports has already announced plans to request a medical waiver, so should the car make the chase, he'll be there. For this weekend at least, veteran NASCAR racer Anthony Alfredo will fill in on the number 48 Chevrolet. Is this a matter of convenience, or is he the best option available?
In this sense, he's the best option available because he does all the sim work for Chevrolet.
Okay. Yesterday, as we air live, Jeff Andrews, president of Hendrick Motorsports, got on Sirius XM satellite radio, said that that he, Bowman, showed no signs before he got in the car last weekend at COTA, but complained about it more and more as the race went on. He underwent several days of medical evaluations after the fact, drove some test laps during the week at the 1010s Motor Club, which is right across the street from Charlotte Motor Speedway, and they said he had no ill effects during or after. It was also suggested that maybe it was an after effect of some previous injuries. Andrews said about that, quote, he's undergone several rounds of testing to pinpoint exactly what it is. The good news is it's absolutely nothing concussion related, anything like that should have a long-term effect. We're supporting him as he goes down the right path, sees the right people to get himself better, and that's certainly our first priority, the health and safety of Alex Bowman. Not only in one of our race cars, but for his personal health as a whole. We support him however long this is going to take, and that seat will be ready for him when he's ready to get back in that car. And, of course, those are the right words to say. You know, I get it.
It is, but with how vertigo does and how it's done me personally, that stuff can hit you out of nowhere.
Sure. I mean, again, showed no signs of it before he got in the car at COTA, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's starting to deal with it.
Yeah, because how the first time I ever dealt with it, how it hit me. It hit me driving my personal vehicle down Interstate 20 in a thunderstorm.
That's not good.
And it made me, and I know why they had to do the seat change because Alex was getting so sick that it was this seat insert was absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
I got sick 14 times in 4 hours. 5 times in between for our locals that are prevalent to this area. 5 times in between the Bass Pro Shops exit on Interstate 20 where Barber Motorsports Park is to the exit where I get off of the interstate to go to my home.
That's a 40-mile run.
That's about 40 miles. That many times, stopping on the side of the interstate and hoping I don't fall into traffic because I'm so dizzy that you can't even, you're like this. Moving my eyeballs was making me sick.
Yeah.
When I got home and laid down in the bed, at the time, she weighed about probably 8, 9, maybe 10 pounds. My chihuahua that jumped in the bed and the bed shook, off to the porcelain goddess we go.
Yeah.
That's what it does to you. That stuff is no joke.
No, it isn't. So our thoughts and our prayers go out to Alex Bowman. Quick recovery, but, get yourself right first.
Yes.
But that being said, to me, the hottest seat at Hendrick Motorsports was under him at the beginning of the year before this. This doesn't help his situation for a long-term future at Hendrick. I hate to say it, but, again, business is business. They got 4 cars out there. They want all 4 cars running up front. They don't need the uncertainty of a guy with vertigo.
Yeah, and he is at the bottom of the point standings right now.
So that doesn't help.
Nope.
All right. So now we've got a pin in this situation when it comes to Mayat Snyder. When we come back, we're going to take a look at what's going on in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series because there's drivers getting ready to make their debuts, which means they had to go through the approval process as well. And remember some history here in that not that long ago, a veteran NASCAR driver was going to run a one-off Daytona 500, and NASCAR didn't approve him. So what exactly is the process?
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
Are you ready?
Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back into the show. We are into O'Reilly Auto Parts Series news here, where more approvals have to take effect here. One of them coming from Hettinger Racing. You don't really need an approval here. This is the good news. The Hettinger Racing continuing their first year of O'Reilly Auto Parts Series competition with their number 5 Ford Mustang Dark Horse. They're one of, two Ford Mustang Dark Horses currently running in the Xfinity Series? Or O'Reilly Auto Parts Series?
Full time. There is a third one with Daniel Dye.
Either way, they've decided to, instead of going with a full-time driver, they're going with a roster of drivers, at least for now. Latest to fill in some gaps in the schedule is Craftsman Truck Series driver Chandler Smith. He is slated to get at least 2 races. He'll pilot the ride for Hettinger this weekend at Phoenix, then again next weekend when they're in Vegas. Smith, solid choice, veteran of what is now the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. 3 wins to go along with 8 wins in counting in Truck Series competition. So, yeah, not a bad choice on that part.
Yep.
Chandler Smith is actually a guy who could probably tell Hettinger, hey, listen, this is what you need to work on with this car.
He qualified decent for today.
Okay. Yeah, but I think he's that kind of driver that could tell them, hey, listen, here's your strengths, here's your weaknesses.
He could. I don't disagree.
Then there's Joey Gase Motorsports filling in some gaps. They've tapped a kid by the name of Blake Lothian for 5 races this year, starting at Phoenix later today.
DNQ'd.
Later, okay, so he won't be there. Later, he will attempt to qualify for Gase at Martinsville, Dover, Iowa, and Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway. Lothian does have a little bit of experience to his credit. 4 Craftsman Truck Series races to his credit. These would be his first starts in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series if he can qualify the car. Then there's Dale Jr. Dale Jr. is giving a local Martinsville racer who does have experience in the Whelen Modified Tour as well to a chance to run in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. His name, Lee Pulliam. Pulliam will drive the number 9 Junior Motorsports Chevrolet at Martinsville, not this weekend at Phoenix. It will make his O'Reilly Auto Parts Series debut at 37. Again, 37. That's just 2 years ago. Pulliam actually kind of thought his career was done. Said he was content with being a dad and a small team race team owner. Instead, now he can say he's got a dream opportunity at a track where he has 2 wins, 9 top 5s, and almost 200 laps led. And that's just in the track's prestigious late model race, the Valley Star Credit 300, over his career. And it all leads him to think that he gets into that number 9 car for Junior Motorsports, he might just have a chance to claim a win. Not just do well, but claim a win.
Him at Martinsville in that car, very legitimate chance.
Okay.
Very legitimate chance. Think Josh Berry a few years ago.
Sure. And then there's this situation.
Time to tee off.
And I'm going to ask it about Lothian. I'm going to ask it about the gentleman that we just got done talking about, Lee Pulliam. But I'm also going to ask it about this gentleman. NASCAR has approved, apparently, Garrett Mitchell, probably better known to you as Cletus McFarland. McFarland, who made his name on YouTube, has been running some NASCAR races the past couple of seasons, set to make his debut in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series after he has signed a 2-year deal with Richard Childress Racing, where he's slated to get into the number 33 Chevrolet at Rockingham. This 2-year deal will cover at least 3 races through this year and next year. The deal, he noted, tentatively includes him running at Daytona and Talladega. Exactly when that's going to happen, we don't know. Again, it's just right now all tentative past Rockingham, which races he didn't even know. Said he'll have sponsorship from a group called Tommy's Express, at least for Rockingham, and maybe the other 2 as well. So, mentioned it before the break. Mike Wallace, yeah, he had been out of competition for a few years, but he gets tabbed to run the Daytona 500. NASCAR says, nope, you've been out of it for too long. So they don't approve a guy who had, what did we say at the time, 600-ish starts across all 3 top series of NASCAR. Lothian, Pulliam, and now Cletus McFarland. And they do an expedited situation, as we just got done talking about, for the Cup Series competition for Mayat Snyder. What the heck is going on in the approval process? Because it doesn't seem uniform by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it's not even close. It's not even in an appropriate galaxy right now from what it used to be and what the standard what the clear standard was a handful of years ago. When you had David Hoots, when you had the late Bill France Jr., when you had I'll put Robin Pemberton in there.
Mm.
You had the ones of those likes. Everything was clear, cut, and dry. It did not matter who you are, what you drove, or how you went about anything dealing with trying to come up through the ranks. You had a clear cut path that you were going to go on. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now, it's like we're picking and choosing. It's almost like we're picking and choosing. The two main ones of recent. You've already mentioned one, Mike Wallace.
Yeah.
All right. This is gonna be one that's way off the cuff here, but I'm gonna put her in there. Jennifer Jo Cobb.
Okay.
Talladega 2021. She has hundreds of Truck Series starts. I think at the time it was close to 35 to 40 Xfinity Series starts at the time.
That sounds about right, yeah. I think we talked about it in pretty much detail at that weekend.
But she had a pretty sizable sponsorship deal to run the Cup race at Talladega. Oh, they didn't approve her. Okay. Let's back up to all these times. All of these times here. When I'm gonna throw a handful of names out there. Bubba Wallace, Ricky Stenhouse, Scott Speed.
There's a name from the past.
Danica Patrick. Who's another one? Another good one. Ty Dillon. Those last two are pretty decent. Well, they all are pretty decent size names. To make theirs, we want to debut at Daytona. Do this at Daytona. There was no question what you had to do first. You had to successfully complete the ARCA test. You had to successfully complete the ARCA race. Well, let me backtrack on that. You had to show adequate car control in the ARCA race.
Yeah, because they understood that you could be taken out by something not of your own doing.
Exactly. You had to show adequate car control in running in a packed situation. All right. Now, one that I do remember vividly, because Bubba Wallace made the ARCA series start. He made the ARCA start because this was back when the ARCA race was on the day of the Bud Shootout on Saturday the week before, back when there was a such thing called Speed Weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't run the ARCA race after the truck race.
Right.
They ran the ARCA race the week before. Bubba Wallace was in the Venturini 55 car.
Mm-hmm.
He got wrecked out like lap 5.
Mm.
But he had passed the test. He had ran the test, had a successful test, showed very much adequate car control. They approved him. Danica Patrick, Ricky Stenhouse, Scott Speed, Ty Dillon. Well, Ty Dillon ran a full season of ARCA before he even stepped up, which is the smart thing to do.
Sure.
Can't believe I'm saying that Dillon did something smart, but he did do something smart. But the other three, they successfully completed the ARCA race before running whichever division that they were going to step up and run into. All right. Now it seems like, all right, Mike Snyder. He's got more than sufficient enough starts. More than enough.
Like I said, 112 in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series alone.
Across all facets of tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But you've created this absolute abomination of a cup car that now you got to be specially approved to drive it. Why? Why have we created an absolute abomination of a car that now the approval process to get into Cup Series, you got to run through Fort Knox, it seems like. But we do an on-the-fly approval through the radio, over the radio, which probably took, I'm going to say probably 3 solid laps under caution, if not longer. We doing this crazy approval. Oh, all right, he's approved. All right, but just like Anthony Alfredo, which Anthony Alfredo's got a full-time Xfinity, Raleigh Auto Parts Series ride. Mm-hmm. But Snyder, he is a GM driver that does sim work just like Alfredo does.
Which I would imagine was probably part of the conversation.
It was. For Chevrolet and Cadillac. Okay. It's a road course. Mm-hmm. Why we got to take into account of the track. In my opinion, with who you have, and I'm going to have a third name that you throw in there too, because the ones that are at I'm going to use the term, the upper echelons within the series direction and what goes where, there needs to be only 3 individuals that do any reviews of driver approval to run car A or car B at track A or track B. Chad Little, Eldon Sawyer.
Both of them have experience behind the wheel.
And Ben Kennedy.
Who has some.
Ben's got experience. Ben's a race. All 3 are race winners.
Sure.
Chad Little, being a champion and a multiple-time race winner, should be the one that has the final say. That's my opinion. Because Chad Little, out of all of them, has, in my opinion, just a little bit more driving clout than the other ones.
Okay.
All right. That should have been a no-brainer. Mike Snyder, yes, there's something out there that Regan Smith, they tried to approach Regan Smith. Regan Smith said, let the kid do it. Let him have a shot.
Okay.
I don't have my stuff. Let him have it. He's got his. All right. Blake Lothian, 4 Truck Series starts. Oh, we can run O'Reilly Series now. You've automatically DNQ'd. Forget that. Let me backtrack a minute. I'm going to add a 4th name in to driver approval. Brett Bodine.
Okay.
He's still a series official. Brett Bodine. Heck, and if you want to, throw in a 5th one of the one that was standing there overseeing, making sure everything was right within the car on the changes to get Mike Snyder in the car. Throw David Green in there. David Green and Chad Little should have the final say because they're both champions.
Okay.
All right.
So you want to put this in the hands of
officials that have had
who have had driving experience,
rear ends in the seat of the car.
Okay. All right.
Put it there. All right.
Well, and I'll throw another name in there because I was blessed enough. The first experience that I ever had working at the track at Talladega was working for a local radio station. And I was doing pit road calls, but I also ended up doing Victory Lane. Yeah. Well, who ended up in Victory Lane in 2005 in an ARCA race? The guy who sliced bread at that point in time, Joey Logano.
Yeah, Joey Logano.
Why was he running an ARCA race? Because they needed, like we were talking about just a moment ago, they needed to see the fact that he had the car control to approve him to run at a track like Talladega in a higher level.
Right.
Well, I guess he proved it. He parked the car in Victory Lane.
Right.
You know, that's that situation we're talking about. I get the fact that they need to understand it, and I get it that Talladega and Daytona, and now Atlanta, kind of sit separately from everything else. But in the end, you're going out there and you're approving these guys who have very little to almost no experience whatsoever. You admitted it. Blake Lothian's got 4 starts in the Truck Series. 4. All right? Cletus McFarland. He's another one of those guys. I get it. He's big-time YouTube and got a whole lot of people following him. What's his experience behind the wheel of a NASCAR vehicle?
All right. See, we're at the top of the hour. I got more to go. On this. I'm sorry, but I've got to get it out there.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that because, this is inconsistencies bother us. Can you tell? And we're trying to get down to the bottom of it. And in some cases, it really honestly seems like there are people at the top of NASCAR who are doing one thing with their left hand, their right hand is doing something else, and their brain can't tell the difference between the two. So we're still trying to work that out.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. Four tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Producer John on CRN Live on YouTube.
Back in the archives for sure.
Yeah, he went back. He pulled a lot of pictures because what we do during a commercial break, if you're listening on the radio, our flagship radio station, for example, we go to commercial, you hear the commercials that the radio station plays, right? Well, we're not airing those on CRN Live on YouTube because it's a totally separate deal. And this goes for literally any radio station that does anything on YouTube. So he's filling the time by running some older pictures. And for a while there, it was a lot of stuff that you had done on iRacing. Now he's pulled a lot of pictures from our archives. And don't get me wrong, we don't have a problem with it. I think what John has done is fantastic. We're going back through it and going, wow, how long ago was that? 3 years? 4 years?
Yeah, throwing stuff up from mid-Ohio, Texas, Bristol.
Bristol when it had dirt on it.
Yeah, when it had dirt on it. Yeah,
all right,
for sure.
All right, so let's get back into this here. The big one the big two, I guess, that we probably should be more concerned about. The fact that they, quote unquote, expedited the approval process of Myatt Snider, that should have been a no-brainer. Again, 112 starts in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series across all different kinds of tracks. He's proven car control.
Yeah, should have. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Blake Lothian with 4 Truck Series starts. And then you look at somebody who was a social media influencer like Cletus McFarland, Garrett Mitchell, who has how many starts now?
6 ARCA starts. No. 5 ARCA starts.
Mm-hmm.
1 Truck Series start.
And now he's getting approved to run O'Reilly Auto Parts Series.
All right.
Huh?
The one, I'll eliminate this one real quick. Lee Pulliam, that's a short track.
And
He's had extreme high amount of success on and knows car control. And his age, he's got experience. That's a no-brainer. That's another Josh Berry. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
For all intents and purposes, he has proven himself in the Wayland Modified Tour at a short track. And again, a short track is a little bit different than going to a Talladega or Daytona anyway.
But here's where, for the first time in 2026, Big Bertha comes out of the driver bag. And I hope somebody that is on the grounds of Phoenix Raceway may be watching and listening to this, because this is a legitimate question here. Since when are we running private tests? This is now private test number 2 that Garrett Mitchell's had. Okay, they've given him private test number 2. All right. Since when are we running Rockingham to get approval to run your biggest, fastest track on the entire series?
That's a good question.
He tested Rockingham in a truck to get approval to run Daytona when he has successfully completed an ARCA race at Daytona and Talladega. Finished top 10 at Talladega on 7 cylinders.
Yeah. Just last year.
Finished top 10 at Charlotte. Had a pretty solid run going at Bristol until I think it was a mechanical issue he had. Daytona was like Amber Balkan had a bullseye on his car because she wrecked him twice. So why did we have to run Rockingham to show car control and ability to run Daytona? That still baffles me.
Again, NASCAR. Consistency.
It still baffles me.
Consistency. That's all we're asking for.
But
consistency.
RCRCs, Nice can get a private test to get him approved. Oh, we can get a private test at Rockingham too.
All right.
All right. I'll button this up right here with a couple of things. One, he's shown that he can be a pretty decent super speedway racer.
Yeah, he has.
But when you're approaching making a super speedway start in what will be one of the 3 fastest cars on the racetrack,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not baptism by blowtorch. That is baptism jumping into a fire pit. A raging fire pit of burning metal. You better hope you have a suit of blaze-proof suit on. Secondly, I don't despise what he's doing because he's trying to climb through the ranks.
Sure, yeah. Like anybody would.
But they're paving this path. I'm calling my shot right now on March the 7th. He will be on the entry list for the 2027 Daytona 500.
I'd be shocked if he wasn't.
But here's how you fix this right here. If somebody's wanting to get to approved to run Cup, all right, you get 5 Cup cars. You set the ground rules. 1, no computer data, no nothing. All you bring is a car in your toolbox.
Okay.
You take 5 Cup cars, 4 with current drivers or current test drivers or reserve drivers, and the driver that's seeking approval. You go out there and you make a 50-lap run whatever said track.
Effectively a fuel run.
Effectively a fuel run. Yeah, whatever said track. If you can go out there and run 50 laps and not touch another car, and you have a clean car at the end of it, you're approved. Simple.
Okay.
Just like it used to be for the ARCA race, because the ARCA race is 80 laps. Same way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But here's the key phrase. Here's the key saying of this right here. I don't despise what he's doing. I don't despise what RCR is doing. I utterly despise what NASCAR has created. Because don't hate the driver. Don't hate the team.
Hate the game.
Hate the system. Hate the system.
Yeah, I do. I see where you're going with that.
Hate the system.
All
because
right.
the system has created this mess.
All right, let's get into some other news here because we still have a lot to go. Let's talk about the Craftsman Truck Series here for just a moment. Fox Sports has done for several years now their annual drivers broadcast where you don't have any of the professional Fox announcers there, or you used to not. Now it's a little different. Kevin Harvick retired as a driver. He is now a regular Fox Sports analyst for the Cup Series. So he, like he has done in years past and has done a very good job of it, will take control of the driver's broadcast. It is going to be a Craftsman Truck Series race this year. Harvick handles the call of the action. In the booth, he'll be joined by the Team Penske pair, the Ford pair of Ryan Blaney from Team Penske. Well, yeah, he's Team Penske too. I'm talking myself in circles. And Joey Logano.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, their third teammate, Austin Cindric, is going to be down on pit road with the one Chevrolet driver in the group, which is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. So there's going to be what's going to happen. The race that they've chosen to do this for is going to be the Darlington Spring Race, which is going to air on Fox Sports 1. Something else to note about that Darlington Spring Race. The spring race at Darlington has, in the past few years, been a throwback weekend. Not this year. They're shelving the throwback aspect to it, and all it is Truck, O'Reilly, and Cup Series, and running your regular thing. And to a certain extent, I kind of understand why. And I was listening yesterday, and I think it was Larry McReynolds said, what we ought to do is just bring it back on special years. Like, bring it back when we get to NASCAR's 80th anniversary. That'll be like a 3-year break.
Well, yeah.
And then do it maybe on year 85. Don't do it every year. Make it more special.
Yeah, because they have absolutely, and then some, scorched. It seems like every single paint scheme that can be scorched multiple times.
Yeah, I would agree.
And they've burned out a lot.
Yeah, they have. Some cars were just they couldn't figure out what to do, or they were redoing something that they'd already done. So.
Yeah, like you can only go so many schemes on the 43 car.
True.
You can only.
And let's face it, STP, the big STP on the hood, that's your most iconic one if you're in the 43.
You can only go so many on that one.
Yeah.
You can only go so many on so many times you run Bobby Allison's Miller High Life scheme.
Mm-hmm.
That was run till it was in the ground. Unfortunately, God rest Bobby Allison's soul.
And I've seen 2 different versions of Bobby Allison's old Coca-Cola scheme. First one was done by Tony Stewart in his final year, and then they did it, was it 2 years ago, I think? And that's a fairly generic gold with a small, relatively, Coca-Cola logo on it.
Yeah.
There's only so many times you can do that.
Would you believe in the ARCA race Thursday that car resurfaced? That car,
Did it really?
That car is in the ARCA race.
Okay.
This guy's like, hey, hello, Tony Stewart.
Whatever you can do with it, man. Whatever you can do with it.
Yep.
So there you go. That's that. And one more note on the NASCAR side before we turn our attention over to F1. And if you are into collectibles, the Lionel brand for many years now has been the official diecast collectible producer for NASCAR. They've done some IndyCar as well. Well, they've been sold. Okay. In this case, to a company called Round 2. Round 2 is a leading collectibles company under the Presidian Capital umbrella. Round 2, they say, with this purchase has created the Lionel Brands Group, which will continue to produce those diecast collectibles, plus all the other things Lionel is well known for. And that includes another arm, which includes the miniature train sets, right? Round 2 officials state that fans should notice little to no change. Now, we didn't go, but a couple of years ago when we were up in Concord, North Carolina, you and I went into, Concord Mills Mall?
Yep, Concord Mills.
And Lionel Racing had an actual store. Hey, an actual store. I presume it's still there.
Yes, it is.
And that's, I think, what they mean by here. That you should really notice little to no change. This is still the same brand that was building the diecast collectibles before. It still should be the same quality that you were expecting from what you got in the past.
Sure.
So, hey, I don't have a problem with it, but we're into, trying to give you all the information that we can. We want you armed so that you're ready for your race weekend. All right, let's turn our attention here. I'll tell you what, this seems like an obvious place for a break. Producer John, we're going to do it a little early. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make the transition. We're going to go, and those of you that are on CRN Live on YouTube, you can check out more of our race memories, which Matt and I will probably go, oh gosh, I remember that too. But we'll look at those pictures, and we'll turn our attention to Formula One. And what started last weekend with the Israeli and United States strikes against Iran, how is that going to affect Formula One short-term and long-term?
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
The Calhoun Cleburne.
Two tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in as we cruise along here in hour number 2 of the show. Matt Nicholson, Steve West, behind the scenes, producer John on CRN Live on YouTube. Talking a little Formula One here, and last week as we were doing the show, word started to come out about strikes that the U.S. and Israel had taken against Iran, and it's kind of now a coalition because Iran has ticked off really everybody in the region, it seems, by just, hey, or Israel and the U.S. are attacking us, we'll just throw an attack at everybody. Good call. Either way, this is affecting what Formula One and the FIA are trying to get done, which is get a racing season underway. FIA officials got together. They began to discuss how safely to continue with the F1 and the World Endurance Championship Series schedules. Formula One is in Australia this weekend. Quickest flight route usually to get from where most of the shops are located, England, to get to Australia is to go right over the Middle East. Plus, on top of that, they got 2 Middle East-based races that are on the schedule here very, very soon. That's Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem posted on social media earlier this week, quote, "We are in close contact with our member clubs, championship promoters, teams, and colleagues on the ground as we monitor developments carefully and responsibly. Safety and well-being will guide our decisions as we assess the forthcoming schedules there for the FIA World Endurance Championship and the FIA Formula One World Championship. Our organization is built on unity and shared purpose, and that unity matters now more than ever." So here's your schedule. So Formula One in Australia for this weekend, they're already there. From there, they go to China first, then they go to Japan. From there, they're slated to go to Bahrain. That's a race scheduled for April the 12th. Saudi Arabian Grand Prix would be scheduled for 1 week after that, April the 19th. Now, we're not going to go overly political, but here's the situation of what President Donald Trump has said this week. He wants to take care of business by then. But if you know anything about the rules of being in a fight, you know that once you start the fight with a plan. Okay, I'm going to do this to my opponent, and then the first punch lands, and all those plans went out the door, window, wherever.
Mm-hmm.
So we've heard of possibilities, let's put it that way. Should one or both of the races in Bahrain or Saudi Arabia be canceled, it appears to be too late to reschedule to go to other facilities, which leaves few, if any, options. Some in media have purported that maybe we could have 2 races in Japan. I don't know whether that's really a likely possibility. Seems the more likely scenario would be that if we can't safely go to either of the Middle Eastern locations, they'd probably be canceled without any replacements, and that 24-race schedule that we start tonight in Australia drops down to 22.
I'm not buying that part because you can't tell me, and I'll use this as a scenario. You can't tell me right now that if FIA was to pick up the phone and call the staff at Barber Motorsports Park and say, with this situation going on in the Middle East, and I'll use Bahrain for example, we want to look at moving the Bahrain Grand Prix over to Barber.
Okay.
If they were to call them, let's say at 11 a.m. Central Time that we're on right now, preparations would be starting to be made at 11:15.
Mm-hmm. Because
it could be pulled off.
So here's the situation. So like we said, looking further down the schedule, China, Japan after Australia, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia if they go off. Then they're off from April 19th to May 3rd, which would take place in Miami, which means they could come to the United States of America. Or North America. Let's just say North America. They could come to North America a little bit early. Mm-hmm. They could run at a Barber or any number of other facilities here in the United States of America, truth be told.
You could figure out a way to have a hybrid paddock area set up. I know they have their specialties of how they do things, but have a way of a hybrid paddock area set up. Run a second race at COTA.
Yeah.
Run at Road America.
So, all right. So Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Miami, then a couple of weeks off, Canada. So remember, this is the reworked schedule to where Canada shows up on Memorial Day weekend as opposed to being at Monaco.
Right.
So from Canada, then they go to Monaco. Here's another option, truth be told. You have tracks that are wanting F1 races that actually, one of them is coming onto the schedule next year. That's Portugal, Portimao. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me that Portimao wouldn't go, yeah, come on, we'll do a stopover between Japan on March 29th and Miami on May 3rd. Yeah, we'll run you one race.
Oh, yeah.
You're about to, well, I think you did, actually. We're down to one race in Italy. You can't tell me that they couldn't go to Italy and get one of the other tracks other than Monza to say, sure, we'll host you for that.
Imola, Mugello. You know, there is.
I mean,
plenty.
Have you called?
Plenty of other facilities that are adequate enough to host an event.
Yeah. Have you called them? Have you really called them and put
But
the
using the excuse of, the teams don't have enough time to prepare. Give me a break.
Yeah. One other aspect of this was that F1 officials had to charter 2 British Airways jumbo jets, to take staff from 10 of the 11 teams to ensure that the Australian Grand Prix went off without a hitch. Generally, when the teams travel from the European headquarters to Australia, again, they either go through Doha or Dubai, both of which have been affected by the strikes and counter-strikes. In order to get them to the race, the chartered flights avoided the Middle East altogether. And the funny thing is, if you look at a flight map, you'll note that there is a big hole right around Iran where all these commercial flights have decided to get out of the way.
Go north or go south.
And again, this affects Dubai, Doha, and others that are in that area. So this time, the chartered flights avoided the Middle East, went through Singapore, and then to Melbourne. And it takes a surprising number of people to put on an F1 race. About 2,000 or so people to put on an F1 race. You're talking team personnel, F1 personnel, FIA representatives, race stewards, some of whom are local to whatever race they happen to be in. But yeah, about 2,000 people to put on a race, and you're bringing a lot of them in. So the fact that F1 officials actually put it on their dime to get these people there, that says that they are committed to get the season started. Now show that commitment, and if you have to cancel the 2 races in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, find another place to run them.
Israel, Turkey, Bahrain. Israel, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan. That's a lot.
There's a lot of area right there where you kind of look, kind of questionable.
But you got to. Maybe this mess will be done by then, but
maybe
you've got to put Azerbaijan in play.
Yeah, it's on the outskirts of this. I agree. There's some question there.
Yeah, it's bad to say, but it's the truth.
Yeah. We'll see. Let's get to the actual racing situation here. You and I talked about this in hour number 1 regarding the Cadillac F1 team and their debut. Qualifying-wise, not pretty. They're, 3+ seconds?
3 seconds off the pace.
And the interesting thing is that most teams, you begin the season with what you've brought to practices. For example, in this case, Spain and Bahrain, before the strikes began. Most teams will begin with what they have, and you deal with it. And then you work on an upgrade, and you tend to bring your first major upgrade to your car for maybe the first race in Europe. Maybe now, this year, the first major update comes in Miami because you've got that stretch where you finally out of the Middle East. You've had a chance to go home for a little bit before you come to Miami.
Right.
So maybe the first major upgrade for most of the teams comes in Miami. Yeah, Cadillac isn't waiting. According to team principal Graham Loudon, the first upgrade actually goes into effect this weekend. Team went through preseason practice sessions, shakedowns in Spain and Bahrain, decided that they needed what they needed anyway. Loudon told media, quote, "I'm happy with our progress in Barcelona and Bahrain. We're already bringing the first upgrades to our car this weekend. We have bold ambitions, but we are realistic, committed, and respectful to the challenge ahead. There's no word from the team or any insiders what those upgrades might be. And right now, at least in qualifying trim, it didn't seem to work. Nope. Hopefully it works in race trim. We will find out." Another team that is in serious need of an upgrade is something we actually talked about on Crossed Flags, and we found out a little bit more about it since then. This is Aston Martin. Aston Martin is in their first year under contract with Honda Power, behind the driver, I guess is probably the best way to put it, as opposed to under the hood. It's kind of a misnomer when it comes to F1 in a lot of ways. Under the cowl, I guess we could call it that. The team states that they may actually limit the number of laps for their 2 drivers, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll, because they have a problem with vibrations in the car. Now, a couple of years ago, Mercedes, and I think this is one of the reasons why Lewis Hamilton probably ultimately left Mercedes and went to Ferrari. Yeah. They had a problem where the car was basically doing this.
Porpoising. That's a suspension problem.
This is something entirely different because this is Honda, the power unit supplier, admitting there's a vibration that they haven't really been able to get full control over. So there's something that is actually in the drivetrain of the car, and it's affecting the drivers. Should we give the details first, or you want to try and break it down?
What it sounds to me, if there's a Honda problem, and it's from the engine to the drivetrain, simple question is, why haven't there been expired engines yet? Because if that's a vibration in the driveline or the engine, that engine is out of balance.
Sure.
And if you've got an out of balance engine or something in the drivetrain that's out of balance that goes through the engine, but we're not breaking stuff, what is it really?
Yeah. Vibrations obviously can happen. Aston Martin and Honda officials say right now they can't seem to find a way to settle them down enough. So the team's worried that leaving the drivers in the car long term for an entire race, for example, might cause permanent nerve damage to the drivers because it's translating through the steering wheel. Team principal Adrian Newey said, quote, "So without giving away any technical details, what we have achieved for this weekend, it tested on the dyno over the course of the weekend, got to the solution which we'll be using here at Melbourne, successfully significantly reduced the vibration going into the battery. But what is important to remember is that effectively the power unit, i.e. the combination of the ICE or internal combustion engine and the battery, MGU in F1 terms as well, is the source of the vibration. The transmission of that vibration into the chassis, we have not made any progress on. So that vibration into the chassis is what's causing a few reliability problems. But the much more significant problem is that this is that vibration that is transmitted ultimately to the driver's fingers. So Fernando is of the feeling that he cannot do more than 25 laps consecutively before he will risk permanent nerve damage to his hands. Lance is of the opinion he cannot do more than 15 laps before that threshold. Honda also admits that with the vibrations, they haven't been able to run the engine at full power. So not only will the car not go the entire race, it could be significantly slower than the other cars. In other words, rolling roadblock, anybody?
I'm wanting to say it was motorsport.com. Not 100% sure. I have to go back and look for it.
Okay.
Honda and Aston Martin announced in 2023 that they were partnering up for this year.
Mm-hmm. And we knew that there were new engine regulations coming by that time.
It has now surfaced that apparently Aston Martin did not make their first official visit to Honda until November of 2025.
Little late, boys.
There's your problem.
Little late, boys.
But this is confusing because reduce the vibration going into the battery. Okay, the only thing that should be hooked up to the battery are wires.
Think.
Okay. But the vibration through the engine and the MGU, something. This is confusing.
Yeah, they got something massively wrong here. And you and I talked about this again on Cross Flags, and we wondered because we get it. The old Honda power plant. And again, there's new regulations here, but the old Honda power plant effectively has Ford branding on it now.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me that Honda doesn't have the blueprints of that somewhere, somehow, where they could have gone back to it and go, okay, here's our base. Now let's build the new regulations off of this base.
Yeah, here's the CAD file, the blueprint. Let's go with it. But
I'm trying to figure out where the disconnect is here. I mean, I get it. The engine regulations have changed to the point where ideally Formula One is looking for about a 50-50 power split between what's going to the wheels. They're looking for more of a 50-50 split between the battery and the internal combustion engine. But all that is a percentage thing. Is it that radically different when it comes to the engines and how that is being transmitted to the wheels? And in other words, through the chassis and into the driver's hands as they're holding onto the steering?
It's got to be. But
how is Aston Martin the only team experiencing this problem then?
I don't know. That's what's confusing to me, because Honda and Aston Martin is the only one got the problem, but you got Mercedes is 3 seconds faster than them.
Yeah, Mercedes hasn't got a problem with it. None of the Mercedes customers do. Ferrari doesn't have the problem. Neither of their customers do, even though Cadillac is ridiculously slow. And then there's Audi that came walking in. They don't seem to have a problem.
No.
So I'm not sure where the disconnect is.
There's a big disconnect somewhere.
Yeah.
And
I hope they find it soon.
And with me talking with my Alabama Southern boy backyard back of the house shop hat on, if there's vibrations in the engine of the driveline, there should be big time mechanical failures happening.
And that may be another reason why they've decided not to run those cars very much longer either.
Yes.
So we'll find out. All right, so here's an interesting situation. As the race starts later on tonight, quick reminder about the Cadillac. We're going back to Cadillac here, specifically the one of Valtteri Bottas. But we're going to show you a picture of him with his Cadillac teammate here, because he actually has a part in this. There's a 5-spot penalty due Valtteri Bottas from an infraction from 15 months ago, back when he drove for Sauber, which is now Audi. The reason we're showing you the picture of Bottas with Sergio Perez, now ironically his teammate, is because when Perez was with Red Bull, Bottas got into Sergio Perez. It was determined that Bottas was at fault for making Perez spin out in the 2024 season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Penalties were assessed either way, but he's never served them, because the nature of the collision actually created so much damage to Bottas's car he had to retire from the race. And then he was let go from the team at the end of the year. So he never got into a race last year. Last year he was a reserve driver the entire year for Mercedes, but never having run in a race, the penalty still stands, right? The ironic thing about that is that the rule actually had been tweaked. The rule states that race stewards now, at their discretion, can, quote, drop any number of grid positions for the next sprint or race in which the driver participates in the next 12-month period of time. In other words, if they choose to, race stewards have the power to rescind a penalty if the penalty is more than 12 months old. But when the rule was first tweaked, it actually was not administered retroactively.
Okay.
F1 officials decided this week that it will also apply to Bottas. The stewards did decide to rescind the penalty, and he will not have to serve it. So wherever he qualified, he will start. Still starts at the back of the pack. But again, let's go back to what we were talking about in hour one when it came to NASCAR. Consistency. Why in the world would you tweak that rule and then not apply it retroactively? Because the only reason you came up with the rule was because of Bottas.
Yep.
So therefore, apply it retroactively in the rule book. That way you can go ahead and not worry about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Speaking of penalty points on F1 super licenses, drivers really don't have a whole lot to worry about coming into the 2026 year. Drivers who have absolutely nothing to worry about, in other words, they have 0 points on their F1 super license. Defending champion Lando Norris has no penalty points. Neither does George Russell. Neither does Isaac Hajar, who went through his rookie year without accruing a penalty point on his super license. Good for him. Obviously, rookie Arvid Lindblad, he's coming in with a clean slate. But veteran drivers, Fernando Alonso, Nico Hülkenberg, both of your caddy drivers, Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez, they all come into the year 0 points on their penalty license. So there's good news. As for drivers who are closing in on the 12 penalty points that would result in a one-race suspension, there's only one driver that is in anywhere close to real bad danger when it comes to that. It's Haas F1 driver Ollie Behrman. Ollie Behrman, in his rookie year, 1 year, acquired 10 penalty points on his super license.
Yep.
Nobody else has more than 6, by the way. Remember that you get 12 penalty points on your license, you have to sit out a race.
Mm-hmm.
And no points will drop off of Ollie Behrman's super license until May the 23rd. 2 points will drop off then, with another 4 slated to drop off on July 5th. Ollie, keep your nose clean, man. Warning you now. So the oldest driver on the circuit.
The NASCAR Cup Series.
We'll talk about it coming up in a moment.
Here's Kyle Busch. He'll get the advantage on the outside lane.
Annual West Coast Swing begins in the
Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
We are indeed back in here for the run to the checkered flag on this edition of the show. Fernando Alonso, 44 years old. He's the oldest driver in the F1 circuit. The second oldest driver is Lewis Hamilton. And the question has come up for both Alonso and Hamilton this year, are you considering retiring? According to Hamilton, nope. 41-year-old seven-time champion is not. Why not? He said he's waiting on one thing in particular. He's waiting on Formula One's return to the continent of Africa, which is something he's been championing over the last few years. And we're going to show you a couple of pictures here, and producer John's working on some things in the background, but let's kind of get back to this here. Let's show you first off the last place that they went. 33 years ago, when F1 last raced on the continent of Africa, it was the 1993 South African Grand Prix at the Kyalami course. This is the Kyalami course if you're on CRN Live on YouTube right now. Back then, when they dropped this race, the owners of the Kyalami course said that they couldn't run the track at a profit while having to pay the Formula One rights fees. Well, they have gone through a process, and I think they've also sold the track to new owners. And they've gone through the process of now upgrading it, and it should be, if not already, a Grade 1 track and ready to come back. And if you look at that track, that's kind of cool right there.
Hey, there we go. I don't see where it could have left Grade 1 status.
I would say probably not the track itself. It was probably the facilities, if I were to guess. But either way, it should be, if it's not already, it will be back to Grade 1 status here very, very soon. This would be a good track to run on. I like that track.
Yeah.
So the series could go back to the Kyalami course. There's also a possibility of a street course race in South Africa. We've heard of that. But let's not forget something here, that there is a Grade 1 facility being built in the country of Rwanda, and it's called the Kigali course, and we've got one particular look at what this track might be looking like. This is not necessarily confirmed as final. But this right here could be a ridiculously fast track, because that sweeping run from 3 to 5, going around what they call turn 4, you can do that at full speed with the downforce that they've got. And then you go from 8 to 9, that's another nice long straightaway. And of course, you got the front straightaway from 15 to 1. There's this course, and Hamilton, either way, whether it's here, there, or anywhere, he's very adamant about it, said, I don't want to leave the sport without having a Grand Prix there, because without getting to race there, I'm chasing them. When is it going to be? They're setting certain dates, and I'm like, damn, I'm running out of time. So I'm gonna be here for a little while until that happens, because it would be amazing given that I am half African. You know, his legacy.
It's heritage.
I don't have a problem with him doing that. And here's the other side of it. There was a time when the drivers coming into the series at 18 years old was not heard of. And I don't care what the series is. IndyCar, NASCAR, Formula One, forget it.
Yeah.
You were 22, 23, 24, 20. You were probably in your mid-20s, truth be told, before you were able to debut in F1, before you were able to debut in the Cup Series, before you were able to debut at the top level of IndyCar.
Right.
And your career lasted till you were 50, sometimes well into your 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden, we get into 40 years old, and these guys are considered old.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to retire.
I'm sorry, Fernando Alonso is 44, and Lewis Hamilton is 41. And I'm not blaming either of the drivers necessarily.
No.
For a quote-unquote lack of performance. Obviously, Aston Martin's got problems. And then you got to get into a situation where you've been, like Lewis Hamilton had been for so long at Mercedes, and now he's got to transfer into the Ferrari way of doing things. There is a growing pains situation there.
Oh, yeah.
But I get the funny feeling that they're going to be pretty much on it now that they've had a year under their belt.
Yeah. I mean, when you're like the likes of Alonso and Hamilton, you're running against others that could legitimately be your son. I mean,
yeah,
easily.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how soon they can get this done, because, again, we're seeing a lot of changes on these schedules here.
Yeah.
This could happen sooner rather than later, and I think it should, truth be told. I mean, why shouldn't they be able to race on the continent of Africa? They can race on every other continent on the planet. Do it.
Could, yeah.
Sky Sports, whose coverage has been used by ESPN the past several years for fans of the series watching it, once again going to be used in the United States, this time by Apple TV, as they took over the U.S. broadcast rights for F1. Sky Sports announced their 2026 lineup of broadcasters. Almost nothing has changed. One notable exclusion. For the past few years, really, the races here in the United States and Canada, Sky Sports brought in Danica Patrick as a guest pre- and post-race show commentator. Not this year. When the list came out, her name was suspiciously absent. Sky Sports officials haven't commented on why they didn't retain her for the 2026 season.
She said within her social media channels that she made the choice to leave. Okay. So, I don't know.
We'll see. I know that it was... opinions were split on her. Let's just put it that way. I'll be nice.
They were.
I'll be nice.
That they were.
I'll just put it that way. Mm-hmm. By the way, if you checked out the Formula One channel on any of the platforms that feature it, like Fubo, Pluto TV, Prime Video, Roku channel, whatever, or any of the other avenues, you've got a company called C15 Studios to thank for it here in the U.S., and Formula One and C15 have extended that agreement to run that channel for a now unspecified time period. So apparently this was just a test bed, and they liked it. The channel, if you're unfamiliar with it, offers classic Formula One races along with some documentaries and full replays of the last race run during a season, with highlights and analysis not only of Formula One, but the feeder series of Formula 2 and Formula 3 as well. The channel launched in 2024. It is a free ad-supported channel, and that, according to Nielsen, does pull in about 1 million viewers per month, which is not bad considering that it's all on streaming. So that's a pretty good number. So good for them. They'd be able to keep it up. Not a whole lot going on in the world of IndyCar as they get prepared for race number 2 of the season, but there are a couple of things here in the fact that this is another crossover weekend between NASCAR and IndyCar. Last weekend at St. Petersburg, Truck Series ran there on Saturday, IndyCar ran on Sunday. Well, today, they're going to kick everything off with IndyCar running at Phoenix, and then you get the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series later on tonight, tomorrow the Cup Series. Well, they've got this pretty cool thing. The Honda two-seater, what they call the fastest seat in sports. And they've been decided to, since they're going back to this track for the first time since 2018 and kind of invading NASCAR weekend, they're going to do another crossover. And the person who's sitting in the fastest seat in sports is going to be Fox Sports NASCAR analyst Clint Boyer. He's going to lead the IndyCar field to green flag. Now, he'll have a microphone. If you've watched any of the pre-races for IndyCar on Fox, you know that they talk to the person who is in that seat. Clint Boyer will have a lot to say. I can guarantee it, because that man is never shy of words.
Let Boyer drive it.
Oh, there you go.
Let him drive it.
Doubt seriously that's ever going to happen.
Yep. Probably somebody like, I don't know, Davey Hamilton or somebody like that.
Not sure who's driving it now. I know Oriol Servia has driven the pace car the past few years, but I can't remember who it was. I'll let Matt look it up and see if we can figure out who it is. Here's another side of it, and this might give some explanation as to why Fox is so, it seems, hell-bent for leather to ensure that they're running IndyCar on the main network. Fox bought a stake into the IndyCar series from Penske Entertainment. In other words, they own a portion of the IndyCar series. Did so last year. So they're highly vested and invested in making the series a success, which is why all of the 18 races this year and all 17 races last year are on the main network, despite bigger numbers actually coming from NASCAR's Cup Series. You say, well, wait a minute. Can you prove that? Yes, we can. We have proven this over time. We have shown you the ratings the last 2 years. And if you look at the top 50 races in the United States of all motorsports coverage, it is overwhelmingly the Cup Series with a couple of Formula One races as interlopers, and then there's the Indy 500. But let's take last weekend, for example. IndyCar Series opener in St. Petersburg kicked off a doubleheader day. According to Nielsen research, the IndyCar race averaged 1.4 million people tuned in. Peak audience happened between 2:15 and 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time at about 1.6 million. That time frame is important because that's right about the time the race was coming to its conclusion. Those numbers compared to 2025 are flat. As a general rule, any given Cup race can pull in about twice that 1.4 million. As for COTA specifically last Sunday, remember 1.4 million on average for the IndyCar race? What did the Cup Series pull in on average for the race at COTA last weekend? 3.93 million. tell me it ain't about the money, boys and girls. You able to find out who is the driver of the fastest seat in sports?
That's what I'm still digging.
Still looking for it. Okay. While he's looking for that, let's turn our attention to the straight line, guys, here as time's starting to run down for us. NHRA's countdown to their top 75 moments is down to its final 3. So here we are. These are voted on by the fans. Number 3, Big Daddy Don Garlits.
Davey Hamilton.
Oh, okay. He is driving it. Okay. Big Daddy Don Garlits claiming his first win for what is now a normal in the top fuel division, a rear-engined top fueler. In 1970, Big Daddy Don Garlits experienced a catastrophic transmission failure, one that actually cut off half of his right foot. The flywheel apparently ran up through the area.
That'll do it.
But he wasn't willing to give up racing, so he started to work on a rear-engine racer. Broke it out in the 1971 season opening Winter Nationals, turned around, claimed the event win in its first ever full competition. And from that date to now, pretty much all previous engines that were in the front went away. They were obsolete, and everybody started to copy Garlitz's design. So that's moment number 3. In at number 2, Shirley Cha-Cha Muldowney, claiming the Top Fuel title in 1977, marking the first woman to claim an NHRA World Championship at the top levels, in the top division, what we now call the Mission Foods Drag Racing Series. That accomplishment came the very season after she made a breakthrough in Top Fuel, became the first woman to claim a Top Fuel event win in 76. Over the course of the 1977 season, she just got stronger, reeled off 3 straight event wins over the summer, and that all but cemented the title. She was actually ahead of second place in the points, Pat Dakin, by a full 16 round wins. That's how dominant she was that year. Big time. But what, in the end, did the fans vote as the number 1 moment in the first 75 years of the NHRA? They revealed it on Wednesday. Kenny Bernstein smashing through the 300-mile-per-hour barrier. That happened back in 1992. If you think about it, we're just now talking about breaking through the 340-mile-per-hour barrier. We talked about a couple of the other barriers that the NHRA has gone through. The first 200-mile-per-hour run happened in 1960. To get past 250 miles per hour took to 1975. Then it took to 1992. We're still waiting to get to 350 miles per hour, but we'll get back to that. That 15-year stretch went another 2 years to go from 250 to 300. Bernstein arrived at the 1992 Gator Nationals with the Budweiser-sponsored Top Fuel ride. He'd pulled a 295-mile-per-hour plus run in Houston at the previous event, so all eyes were on him. Then in qualifying on Friday, just before 5 p.m., took off at the line at the other end, broke through 300-mile-per-hour barrier, also pulled the quickest Top Fuel elapsed time at that time, 4.823 seconds. We're now under 4. Bernstein noted one thing. Get this. He pulled that run even after the engine halfway through the run dropped a cylinder. So for half the run, he was running on 7 as opposed to 8, and he still broke 300.
The old Bud King.
So that brings us to now. And you, before the show started, you were looking at some of the speeds. And we're seeing 340 on a regular basis, aren't we?
Yes.
So just kind of run through a couple of the speeds that you noticed here before we move on, because, again, time is a factor. Top Fuel at the end of Q2,
same car, different driver. Josh Hart is at the top in the old Brittany Force car, with a track speed record already after Q2 of 340.3. Next closest in speed is Tony Stewart at 339.96.
So he's almost at 340.
Yeah, speed-wise, but elapsed time, you're at 365, 368, 369, 3694. Stewart and Doug Coletta are tied at a 3703.
I think we're going to start to see 340 being a norm this year.
Yep.
And we start to work our way up towards 345. And in the next couple of years, we might just see 350 being broken.
But fastest funny car right now currently mile per hour wise is J.R. Todd at 334.15. But Ron Capps has the elapsed time at 389. But the kicker to me is pro stock with elapsed time, how tight the top 6 are.
Okay.
Actually, the top 7. Well, if I want to, I could go all the way to the top 11, but the top 7 specifically. First, 6.523. 6533, 6533, 6535, 6538, 6540, 6541. That is Cody Coughlin, Matt Hartford, Matt Latino, Derek Kramer, Greg Stanfield, Dallas Glenn, and Troy Coughlin. Right now, after Q2 in Gainesville, Greg Anderson is not in the field, nor is Mason McGuire.
Ooh, that's big. See?
Yes.
NHRA officials have announced that tickets sold to all events this year are going to get a commemorative edition as well. Each ticket showing off a picture from one of those 75 greatest moments in history, and you can find out more by going online, and I think you can buy them. If you're on CRN Live on YouTube, got a preview of 5 of them right there. directsouvenir.welink.com/universal.nhra if you'd like to find out more. It's pretty cool tickets there. And then there's Goodyear, the official tire provider of the NHRA. They're also getting in on the action of celebrating the NHRA's 75th anniversary by bringing a tire to the Gator Nationals with an NHRA 75 special logo on the sidewall, which you're going to see here in a moment. There you go. These are, from what I understand, at least at this time, for one race only. You can't tell me it would be difficult to put that on every tire used this year.
No.
Come on.
No.
Go the whole year. Go nuts.
Nope.
Then last week we got to talking about the factory stock showdown division and how Chevrolet's Camaro is kind of, well, out. Still using it. Ford Mustang has the Cobra Jet. But what about that Dodge Charger? Would you like to see it? We got a picture of it. We're going to show it to you here in a moment. Mark Powick is the man that you need to watch out for. He's going to be the first to break out the new for 2026 Charger Hustle Stuff drag pack powered by Direct Connection. He's one of only 50 such models to be produced by Stellantis, the parent company, each engineered for NHRA competition in the factory stock showdown. So that's the basic look of it. Pretty sleek looking. I want to see one on the road. I haven't seen one on the road yet. That's my thing.
I saw a Mustang Cobra Jet not that long ago on the road.
Did you? Yeah. I don't care whether it's a drag pack or whether it's just a regular new body Charger. I just haven't seen them yet, so I want to see one. And finally, our friends over at the IHRA continue to set their structures ahead of the 2026 racing season. As such, Doug Foley Jr. is the new Chief Operating Officer of the drag race division of the sanctioning body. Foley has a racing background, mostly in bracket racing. Get this. He claims several years of winning big races actually pushed purses of the 6-figure range in bracket racing. I mean, I've done bracket racing, so's producer John. Who knew you could make some big money at it? Well, Doug Foley does. From there, he moved into IHRA operations, said of his new role in the organization, quote, drag racing's been a part of my life as long as I can remember. Being part of the IHRA and helping build the future of drag racing alongside our racers, tracks, and partners, something I'm incredibly proud of. Excited to continue to work with the team as we grow the sport together.
Good for him.
IHRA is looking for big, big stuff. And I can tell you what the biggest part of that is. Go look at their website and look at how they've changed some of the things over there and how many things that they've got under the IHRA banner.
Yep.
We got cross flags this week and a big show next weekend. Join us then, won't you?
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.